Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video. And in today's video I'm gonna be reviewing the Haunted Europe palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I bought this together with the Chamonix Après-Ski and I don't know what other palette I bought that with. A while ago. It's been sitting here for a very long time and I just didn't have time to film, but finally I'm getting to it. So you're gonna see swatches, close-ups of this palette, a review obviously, and my thoughts, and two different looks. This is one of them, so you can get excited for this. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Sasha. I love indie makeup, I love colorful makeup, I love eyeshadows as well. I love eyeshadows, and I would love to have you here on this channel. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, like this video, comment down below what's your favorite like Halloween color story. And I do have a code with Nomad. It's not an affiliated code, I don't earn anything from it, but you can use the code that will be down below. I will have all of my codes under this video so that you can use it. It would really help me if you could use it, because maybe I might get to Nomad's PR list, which would be amazing. I do love their palettes and I do love their color stories. But now let's get into this palette. So this palette is their bigger palette. It's the 18 pan palette. I'm gonna pop up the bureau of these eyeshadows, but it is a beautiful palette. You have kind of like one murky kind of cool tones, murky colors with like kind of berry browns, kind of like gray blues, and a little bit of purple. And then you have the other part, which I've heard a lot of people describe as pumpkin patch, which is incredible because it is very much like orange green, very pumpkin-y color story. I love the way these colors are together. I love mixing warm, bright orange yellows with kind of more cooler toned, dustier shades. So I think this is a wonderful formula, and I think this is a wonderful color story. And this is exactly half and half mattes and shimmers. So you have 9 shimmers and 9 mattes. And as I said, it goes from like yellows, oranges, kind of reddish browns, cool tone blues, like very gray blues, and green shades. And you also have like purples, berries as well. It's another one of these palettes with the lenticular packaging, so obviously get the changing image there, which I just love that. I know it's such a like easy fun, but I love that. Okay, I'm very easily entertained. And I think I've forgotten the sleeve for this palette at my derm, so let me actually read from the website the inspiration for this palette. But this palette retails for $49. You can obviously get you can obviously use my code to take some money off. They have quite a lot of palettes on their website right now, and every single palette from Nomad is donating to a certain cause. So all the profits, so a percentage of the profits for each palette goes to specific charity, and 5% of the sales are donated of this palette are donated to the Bat Conservation International, which I think is incredible. And what they say about this palette: join us on the hunt to discover Europe's most spectacular scary tales. Intensely rich and delightfully lavish 18 eyeshadows formulated with extra fine pigments, 9 ravishing mattes, and 9 picturesque shimmers inspired by the dark fairy tales of medieval Europe. Infused with bilberry seed oil to help restore skin for crease-proof color, cruelty-free, vegan. And this palette, as I said, has 18 eyeshadows. Every eyeshadow has 1.5 grams of product. Nomad usually has quite a bit of product in their palettes, and I've never been able to hit a pan on their palettes. To be honest, I've never really tried, but there are some of the older palettes that I've used quite a bit, and I'm nowhere near pan. Usually it takes quite a while to even get rid of the imprint, or like the, I don't know how it's called, but like the raised picture that they have there. So yeah, that if you want to pan this, it's gonna be quite hard, because this actually is a formula that you don't need that much of, even though it is very buildable and there is a lot of the formula inside of the package. So that is everything for this palette. Now let me show you the two looks that I created with this. And vote down below which one was your favorite. Hi guys, welcome back to another look. This look is actually a look from my movie reaction. We reacted to Thunderbolts and I created this look. I actually did a similar look in one of my like duping Cryptane palette that went out a couple days ago, or well, maybe like weekend something ago. And I unfortunately lost the footage of me getting ready. So if you want to see how I got ready for with a look like this, you can watch the movie reaction. It's gonna be all in there. But what I used, I was for the first time trying the Nomad Haunted Europe palette. And I kind of pretty much used this entire dark 9 pen. I used the shade Count Dracula in my brows together with the Maybelline Superlock Brow Glow. Then I used the Art Deco eyeshadow base. And I started with the shade Bran Castle, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in my crease. Then I'm using the Black Forest for this like liner part, and then also here on the lower part, like the swoop here. I used the Spandau Castle, I think, Spandau Citadel, I think that's how you pronounce it, on the lower lash line, and also in here on my lid and in this little place. I also have a little bit of the Ghost River over here in the crease. And then I used Big Bad Wolf. Where did I use it? Oh yeah, over here in the like inner part of the lid. In the inner corner, I have this shade called Hoya Baciu Forest. I have Krampus, this one, covering this dark eyeshadow, this dark matte. Okay, so I used the shade Krampus here over the dark part, just to make it more like sparkly. And then I have the shade Bloody Mary over here, kind of connecting the dark blue with the matte green, matte brown. Honestly, the shimmers here are very lackluster. It's kind of the formula before they reformulated and had the better shimmers, which, like, I love this color story, but I feel like I'm gonna have to use better shimmers. By the way, mine broke here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's broken for some reason. So to kind of get better shimmer formula going, I use the Ocean Jewel from Bella Beauty bar that I'm currently still kind of like testing. And I use the shade Colorful Moon over the last shade and kind of all over this place to make it a little bit more sparkly, because you can see that the rest of eye isn't sparkly at all. And on my lower lash line, over the brown matte shade, I've actually used my Glam Shop Sorbetti palette and the shade Essentia Zbroskveni, just to make it a little bit more sparkly, because I really wanted to have something special. By the way, for the shimmers, I've used the Shine On primer from Cleonat. I have this Spectra pencil from Glisten. This is the dark blue one. In my waterline, All Eyes on Me mascara from Essence. In my lashes, Maybelline Superstay Concealer in the shade 10. For blush, I have my ColourPop Super Shock blush in the shade All Laced Up. And as a highlighter, I'm mixing the Beauty Bay Mini Charms palette and this blue shade called Cosmic with the Sorbetti palette and the shade Essential Brosconi that I also have here on the lower lash line. And I've also used a little bit of the shade Pluto that is pretty much done underneath my brows. And then I also have this Catrice Plumping Lip Liner Maxi Lip stuff in the shade Manhattan as a lip liner. And then this Udens Eye and Angelica, the Halloween Bundle lipstick. And this is the matte one in the shade Swamp Fog. So that's kind of what is on my face. And when it comes to this palette, obviously, I've only used half of these shades, but I do like the matte collection. I thought I'm gonna do 3 looks with this palette, but I think we can just do 2 because tomorrow I'm just gonna work on this like warm color story over here. And yeah, I do like the mattes. I feel like the mattes were really nice. Quite pigmented, like I am enjoying that, but the shimmers are very lackluster. We'll see about these more like goldy ones. They do look like they sparkle a little bit more. Even this one looks like it sparkles a little bit more. From these, I feel like the only one that kind of sparkles in the pan is this one, like from this 9 pan. And honestly, like it's not very mind-blowing. So we'll see. I am slightly intrigued about this shade because it looks like it's a brown, green, blue multi-chrome. I haven't swatched this palette. I'm gonna swatch it before I'm gonna release this video. But yeah, I'm loving the color story. I'm not completely sure if I'm all that happy with the shimmer formula, but I knew when I was buying that this is the previous formula from them. So I guess I can't be really mad about that. So yeah, that is this palette, and see you tomorrow. Okay, so today we're gonna be creating the second look with the Haunted Europe palette. I have a bit of green on my lids. It's just the green I'm trying to use up from my Pendos palette, so just ignore that. We're gonna cover it up with shimmers. But from this palette, now we kind of have this 9 pan, like this pumpkin patch 9 pan color story. So what are we gonna do? I think I'm gonna do Mary King's clothes in the inner part of the crease, and the main crease part will be with the shade Frankenstein, and then outer corner will be Dragsholm Castle, and we're gonna do Grendel on the lower lash line. I think that's the plan with the mattes, because I want to use both of these golds. I think one of them will go on the lower lash line and one on the top lash. Just have to figure out which one is going where. So I've already obviously paired my lid. I have the Art Deco eyeshadow base. And now let's find a brush. As I said, starting with the Mary King's Clothes, just kind of like a little bit more of a it's like a neutral grease shade, but it has a bit like, it's kind of like peachy with a bit of a mustard. It's an interesting, because it almost looks like a peachy beige, but then when you look at it closer, you realize that there's a bit of a mustardiness happening. So it's definitely an interesting shade. What I will say about the previous look, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna use the orange, the Frankenstein. I really enjoyed it, and I was kind of expecting that, so it wasn't super like surprise for me. But yeah, the shimmer shades were definitely very safe and not really something that I go for all that much. So I hope that today it will be a little bit better, because the yellows look quite sparkly in the pan. In case you're new here and you don't know that, every single time I'm trying a new palette, I always make sure that I use every single shade for my initial review, and then month later, like the next month obviously, I film my haul where I mention all of the palettes and all of the makeup products and skincare products that I've been trying. And my rule for the haul is to, if I want to haul this palette next month, I have to use every single shade 3 times, or at least 2, but preferably 3 times, just so that I can genuinely tell, like, okay, I've tried it with these different products, with different palettes, with different formulas, and it worked this way, you know, so that, because I don't think trying it just once and calling it a review is the right thing to do. So yeah, and I also do Project 20 uses, in case you aren't following everything that I do, which you don't have to. And the Project 20 uses essentially means that I roll in 5 palettes that I have to use for 20 different looks. I can use them in conjunction with other palettes, but I have to use them 20 times. And the palette that was rolled in the last update, I'm gonna kind of spoil it for you, but the the update was, but I made that update like, I don't know, 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago or something. So it's not really I'm not really spoiling anything. If you wanted to see it, you had a while to do that. Now I'm gonna use the brown. And one of the palettes that was rolled in was the Fairytale Europe from Nomad, which in my opinion is the best shimmer formula. I also love the Chicago Speakeasy. I think that also has wonderful, wonderful shimmer formula. So these two palettes are my favorite when it comes to their shimmers. And I think I'm gonna use this Haunted Europe palette a lot with the Fairytale Europe palette, just to give myself, because I do like the mattes. So far they're really nice. Nomad matte formula is kind of like very buildable. So if you like very soft looks, it will be very easy to do that with this formula. But also if you like darker, more pigmented looks like me, it's not that hard to get there. Like, they build quite nicely and they blend quite nicely. So it's, I think, very good formula for both beginners and people who are a little bit more, I guess, daring. It's not, you're not gonna be able to do like a super crazy looks, like something insanely pigmented with like the weirdest pigments and colors. Like, it's not like that. For that I would definitely go for like Blend Bunny, Bella Beauty Bar, Fantasy Cosmetica, for these brands. But for a regular, normal, even like my regular normal looks, it's still good enough. It's still pigmented enough. It's colorful enough. Like, I can do my looks. And in case you do actually watch my videos and like my makeup diaries and stuff, you know that I'm definitely not trying to be like, cute and natural with everything. Like, that's not my style. So I think they have a really nice kind of easy formula for pretty much everyone, unless you want to do like some special effects makeup. You're gonna be able to, I actually like the green on there. I feel like it actually added a really nice touch there. Unless you're doing some special effects makeup, this is perfectly fine formula. But their shimmer formula has always been, I'm gonna use the Grandel, the green, on the lower lash line. Their shimmer formula has always been a little bit not my favorite. For quite a while, I just, it's very much just like a soft, a little bit more than a satin type of shimmer, which is not what I want from my shimmers. I want very wet looking, sparkly, shiny, like multi-chromy, iridescent, like everything. Like, I want all of these, which is not something that Nomad has ever really done until the Chicago Speakeasy and then the Fairytale Europe palette. I haven't tried the Chamonix palette. I bought it with this one, and I'm really excited to try the Chamonix because from the look of it, it looks like it has the sparkly shimmery formula. Their newest shimmer formula is still not like something that I would choose over everything else in my collection, but it's starting to get really, really good. It's still not in the same category as like, I don't know, Fantasy Cosmetica, Bella Beauty Bar, and all of these like extremely, extremely beautiful formulas, but it's a nice shimmer formula. So I feel like for me this palette will be more like a matte palette, and then I'm gonna use the shimmers in here as like a base for something a lot more interesting. By the way, I wanna let you know, from the when I was filming the close-up of this palette before I used it for the first time, I obviously needed to put this here so that I can film this without the mirror being in the way. And I've heard from a lot of people say that the bags break really easily. I wasn't trying to break it, I was just slowly like moving it, but it immediately broken, and it's like, I don't know if you can see it very well, but yeah, it's broken. So, and I've heard a lot of their palettes do that. It's not like you can see it from the outside, you can, but whenever you are gonna open it, it's like that. And it's kind of strange because I haven't really experienced it with other brands. All of my other brands work. I think just because the back is like very thick cardboard. Usually what I've noticed is that brands do like cardboard over here and over here, but then this part is just like the paper, like the paper that's around everything. So I think that's the reason why it's breaking like that. Anyways, that's like really not to the point. I just wanted to mention that. So now what are we gonna do? I wanna use the catacombs on the top lid. And I'm gonna try to use this with a setting spray instead of shimmer primer because I'm currently using the Clay on a Shine On primer and I don't think it's the best shimmer primer. So I wanna give these a chance to maybe look nice. And maybe the shimmer primer could work. And then I think I'm gonna use the Hose Cacasso on the lid as well because I feel like it's more sparkly in the palette, so I want to give it the time to shine on the top lid. And then we're gonna do Mary Cemetery on the bottom lash line as well as the Boogeyman. I think that's the plan. I think that's what I want to do. So let me get my shimmer brush. And if it's not gonna look nice, I'm just gonna go over with my finger because I've actually broken one nail, so it's gonna be very easy for me to go into these eyeshadows. But I really want to try the catacombs and I want to use that on a bigger area because it kind of looks like a green gray with like blue gold sparkles in there. It looks interesting for the fact that this is a dark shimmer, which I'm usually not all that excited about, but I'm just using like a regular. This is a Revolution Matte Fix setting spray. It really doesn't matter. Whatever setting spray, you can even use just water in a spray, but I'm gonna put it over here. And with dark shimmers, I don't mind if they're not too shimmery because obviously it's kind of like an in-between the matte outer corner and the shiny shimmers on the lid. So I don't mind if they're a little bit more lackluster. At least it's easier to blend these two areas together. And yeah, I think this is like the level of shine I want from my dark shimmers. I don't necessarily ever really like need dark shimmers. Like if they aren't in the palette, it's not a problem for me. But if they are, I think it's better if they're like this because if they're too sparkly, for me, I do have to go over them with the mattes on the outer corner because, you know, I want to blend it into the outer corner. So I usually have to dial them down if they are too sparkly. So for me, this is a perfect formula for a dark shimmer. But obviously, if I were to use this all over the lid, I would have to top it with something more interesting for me. So now the Hose Cacasso, that very sparkly yellowish shade on the top row. Spraying it again. They have this like strange, like it's like it's trying to be metallic, but it has too much of little bits in it to like look fully metallic. I don't know. It's a pretty shade. I just normally prefer something more sparkly, and I think I'm just spoiled because once you try those super sparkly formulas from other brands, you just don't really want to use this. Like if you know that there's something better out there, it almost kind of prevents me from being excited about this. And I don't need to buy 85,000 palettes a year. So for me, I'd rather spend a little bit more money on a super sparkly, interesting shimmer formula and only buy like a couple palettes than buy a million different eyeshadow palettes with kind of like basic formulas. And I'm not trying to say that Nomad is basic. I think for the color stories, for what they do, for their charity work, and you know everything, like I think it's a very good price. I think they have a nice price point for the fact that they do donate. I think it's, I don't know if it's 10 or 15%, but I think it's 10% of all the revenue goes towards certain charities. Like every single palette has a different charity cause. This one is for I don't remember, but I think it's like preserving castles or UNESCO World Heritage, something like that. I can't remember. I think it's on the paper packaging, like the box that it comes in, but I can't remember from the top of my head. And you know, there's always a cost. So I think for the fact that they do that, for the color stories that they do, and just the inspiration and the fact that they are kind of showing people destinations that they can visit, places that are good to see and stuff like that. I think it all makes sense, and I think it's a good price point for that. But but if I were to just judge the formula, obviously Nomad wouldn't be anywhere, like wouldn't be in the top rankings. Now I'm gonna use the Highgate Cemetery in the inner corner. It's kind of soft, minty shimmer. Let me try it on its own, and maybe I'm gonna spray it. You know what, for inner corner, I think this is okay. I do love my sparkly inner corners, but if it's more muted, it doesn't bother me as much. In the inner corner, it doesn't bother me as much. On the lid, kind of, but in the inner corner, I can deal with this. It's a really nice shade. I do love these types of shades. It's kind of like, I don't know why, but every single time I use shade like this, it just reminds me of Tinkerbell. You know, like this particular kind of slightly goldy, slightly light minty green always reminds me Tinkerbell. And I love these shades, so I'm fully behind this. Let me get another brush. I'm using so many brushes, and I just cleaned all of them, like literally 2 days ago. Then we're gonna use Boogeyman, and then on the ends, it's gonna be the Mary Cemetery. Just so you know the order in which we're gonna do this. I'm gonna spray it again because on the lower lash line, I always spray the brush because I don't use shimmer primer on my lower lash line. It's kind of harder to use it there because it usually kind of glues your lashes together, which is not very nice. And if I weren't to spray it, I would get all the little shimmer particles all over, all inside my eyes, which is not fun. It's a cute formula. I'm not gonna say it's a wonderful formula for the shimmer, but it's a cute formula. Realistically, I'm only gonna wear it this way for this particular review. Every other time I'm gonna use these shimmers, I will top them with something more interesting. I'm just not doing it today because I want to show you how it looks like on its own. Even though in the previous look, I technically also used another shimmer there. But I actually want to show how it looks like on its own. I actually went in and added this waterline pencil, which I just bought because my camera cut me off, so I wanted to use the time. This one is from Trendy Dab. It's from a German drugstore that we have here, and it's the Contour and Glide Kajal pencil in the shade 051. I don't know, I don't know what shade name this is, but it's like a pale yellow. It's one of those retractable. I've been trying to find a pale yellow liner for the longest time because I have just like, I have neon yellows, like very vibrant yellows, and sometimes I feel like that's too much, but I still love yellow in the waterline. Yellow is the only pencil that I've already used multiple pencils of. That's pretty much the only color that I've already used multiple pencils of in my waterline. So yeah, I go through these very often, and I feel like this one looks really well with this look. I feel like it's not like, it still has that pop of yellow, but it's not like overbearing yellow. So yeah, this is how it looks like. I'm gonna pop on, I'm gonna use my mascara and do the rest of the face and be right back. Okay, so this is the final look. So let me show you what I used for the rest of the face. So I have the Essence All Eyes on Me mascara on my eyes. I have my Maybelline Superstay concealer in the shade 10. Then for a blush, I used this Colourpop All Iced Up Super Shock blush that I'm trying to use up this year. It will not happen, but I am definitely expanding the pan a lot. And then for highlighter, so I took my Beauty Bay Mini Charms palette, and I have the shade Blue Though that I'm just scraping the last bits off. I have that underneath the brow bone, and then I mixed the shade Milky Way with this Undergrowth palette from Cosmic Beauty, and I used the shade Fireflies as well with the Milky Way to create this highlighter, and I love this highlighter, by the way. And then I also have the Udon's Eye and Angelica Nico's Halloween lipstick bundle, Halloween lipstick, and this one is the matte one in the shade Swamp Fog. I just felt like it really fit with these shades. And by the way, if you remember the first matte eyeshadow that I had on my lids in the beginning of this look, I mixed that same cool tone green with the Undergrowth palette and with the shade Clay and the shade Reeds to create a bronzer, because I'm again trying to use up that green shade, and like it's a really nice bronzer. Like it's very light and just like a little bit, but it helps me to get a lot of use on the eyeshadow that I'm panning. And now when it comes to the Haunted Europe palette, I think it's a really, really beautiful color story. I love this. Is this lenticular? Is that how you call it? Packaging. I think it's super cool. I wish mine didn't break. I don't know if it was me or if it already came like that when I got this palette. But when it comes to the color story, it is a very, very beautiful color story. I love these. Like, especially for Halloween, this is pretty much all I want for like autumn. These oranges, these beautiful greens, and then these like murky colors. I love this. I genuinely think that this is a beautiful color story, and I hope I'm gonna get a lot of use out of that. But I will definitely need to use it with sparkly or shimmers. This is the old shimmer formula. I hope they're gonna reformulate it eventually, because I know they obviously reformulated the 3 anniversary palettes, and from what I've gathered, they've been kind of asking other people what other palettes they should bring back and reformulate. So I feel like eventually this might still happen, because a lot of people love this palette. And for me, for a while I was kind of wondering if I'm gonna buy this or the Ghost Town palette, because that one is also very beautiful. But for me, the Ghost Town is a bit too desaturated, and obviously I love those colors for like Halloween. But for my wear, I don't go for these desaturated colors all that often. So I love that I kind of have these in this half of the palette, but then I still had the vibrant oranges and yellows that I really enjoy. And I think this is also way better than the how was it called? They had another fall themed palette. It was like with apples and fall leaves. I think it was apple something. I've made a review of that. I will pop it on the in the card, because I can't remember how it was called. And that one was very like orangey, red, yellow with a little bit of green, and it was a little bit too much of the same. So for me, this definitely makes more sense. What I will say though, when I had the previous like the fall palette, I decluttered it because I think it only had 3 shimmers, and I'm not like, I obviously use my eyeshadow a lot, but I want my palettes to be like around half and half, or 40 and 60, but I don't really want it to be mostly matte palette. I don't mind it if it's mostly shimmer palette, but I don't want it to be mostly matte palette. With Nomad, I think I wouldn't mind if they were more matte heavy, um, unless they will, unless it's their new shimmer formula. With the shimmer formula, I think it's okay to be half and half, but for this particular palette, I wouldn't mind if some of these were actually mattes instead of shimmers, because, for example, the shade, for example, this shade, it's mostly like satin, so it doesn't really do much for me. And now I don't remember if the Bad Wolf of the or the Krampus was also like that, but one of them is also very, very satiny, and I just don't really enjoy that, but I know a lot of other people do. So for me, great color story, great idea, love the whole cause and everything. I personally would want better shimmers, but if you don't love super sparkly shimmers, this will be incredible formula. Nomad shimmers don't crease, they don't fall out, they don't create any weird like texture. They're actually very, very nice and easy to use. You can use them with a brush, you can use them with your fingers. So all in all, a nice, good, everyday, easy, friendly formula. That's what I'm gonna say. Let me know which look was your favorite, and if you've enjoyed this video. And like this if you want to see the Chamonix après-ski review. But that's gonna be everything for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll be super happy to see you tomorrow with another video. So, bye!